Okay, so this is I don't know who this guy is. I don't know how long he's been around. But as you see the title, I'm not reading all of it. No, fuck it, I'll read it. His name is Consciously. The caption is, let's talk about plantation patriarchy and how boys out there ascribing to be like massa, figuratively in some instances literally. Why did call her bonnet fool for asking him exactly what he asked her? Bell Hook says, quote, although the gendered politics of slavery denied black men the freedom to act as, quote, men, unquote, within the definition set by white norms, this notion of manhood did become a standard used to measure black male progress, unquote. Let's be real. A lot of dudes merely measure their masculinity and humanity based on white supremacist constructs. Now let's go ahead and I'm gonna let the whole 3 minutes play through, and then go and give my analysis after that.
When are you married?
I'm in a relationship.
So you single or you married?
Single, I guess, yeah. Single.
Okay. Any children?
No.
You already married? Okay. How long you been in a relationship?
We've been official for 4 years.
Okay. What's the hold up on marriage?
What's the rush?
Common sense.
Are you married?
And you want to do it with me?
I'm just saying, are you married?
Okay, see, here's what we're about to do. Here's what we're about to do right here. No. Here's what we're about to do.
No, because you wanna tell women.
See, you get these bonnet fools in these 4-year dead-end relationships who get mad because ain't nobody gonna marry them.
And that class was a textbook example of what I call plantation politics, or what Bell Hooks called plantation patriarchy. He says this testimony shows that enslaved black males were socialized by white folks to believe they should endeavor to become patriarchs by seeking to attain the freedom to provide and protect for black women to be benevolent patriarchs. She goes on to say, benevolent patriarchs exercise their power without using force, and it's this notion of patriarchy that educated black men coming from slavery into freedom sought to mimic. However, when slavery ended, these black men often used violence to dominate black women, which was a repetition of strategies to control white slave masters used. Some newly freed men would take their wives into the barn and beat them as their white owners had done. Clearly, by the time slavery ended, patriarchal masculinity had become accepted idea for most black men, and an idea would be enforced throughout the 20th century. He can ask questions in any way, shape, form, or fashion, how he pleases, but that woman better not ask him the same questions, because you may not go there with him. Then he called her a bonnet fool. What type of anti-blackness is that right there? When I talk about my black male counterparts engaging in what I call plantation politics and what Bell Hooks calls plantation patriarchy, I'm talking specifically about how she said they wanted black women to conform to the gender norms set by white society. They wanted to be recognized as men, as patriarchs by other men, including white men. Yet, they could not assume this position if black women were not willing to conform to the prevailing sexist gender norms. Many black women who endured white supremacist patriarchal domination during slavery did not want to be dominated by black men after all the shit that happened. So what we see is a lot of us have internalized the politics from the plantation, and you think being a high quality man meaning you're above a black woman, meaning they got to conform to you, and then I ask you no questions either. And I keep it a stack. Perhaps there are moments where I'm too lost in the sauce of plantation politics, but education is elevation, and I'm moving to unlearn that shit. Mr. Samuels is old enough to be my dad, and sometimes he handles himself in these conversations like a high school boy that's looking to just throw around a masculinity.
Are you single or are you married?
Okay. First of all, the thing that I have a problem with that the guy said consciously is this idea of let's just grant it to him that it's true, that we are only trying to be providers and protectors and household leaders or whatever it is that he plantation politics, because it was conditioned. We were conditioned that way in slavery. The problem is when I watch a lot of these panels or solo videos by these pink channels and so on and so forth, the threads on Facebook and all that, women will often go to, you got to understand how we were raised. Raised in their childhood, they also link it back to slavery, a whole bunch of shit that is out of their control because of how they were quote unquote conditioned. Well, okay, so our behavior is skewed because of the conditioning done, right? You can't have this idea of, oh, you were conditioned that way, you should stop. But then their behavior is just simply supposed to be excused. Not changed, but excused because that's how they were conditioned. I don't like that idea. Now, let's go to the lady and Kevin. See, you can tell by how she originally started off that, well, you can tell just period that she was there just to cause problems. So obviously she took it there on purpose to fuck with somebody running a show. If you're in a 4-year relationship and you don't care to get married, why would you call into somebody's show who talks about being married as the way to quote unquote keep points? I don't know if that's literal or what the fuck ever that's supposed to mean. But if that's his philosophy and how he runs his show, why would you call in and go, what's the rush to get married? Or are you married? Very obvious she just called in to be disruptive for no fucking reason other than to be disruptive. That actually, the people you're defending right now, black women, that actually put a stain on anybody who uses to paint, I guess, a broad picture or whatever on them. Because she's a black woman who called in somebody's show to do some fuck shit. That was some fuck shit. And the whole bonnet thing, the bonnet full thing, you can call it whatever. Maybe he was trying to be funny for a show. Maybe sometimes, but I don't know. I don't watch it that much. Really don't fucking care. But I guess let's unmute it and go point by point and see what we can find.
Are you single or are you married?
I'm in a relationship.
So you single or you married?
Single, I guess, yeah. Single.
Okay. Any children?
No.
You already married?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long you been in a relationship?
We've been official for 4 years.
Okay. What's the hold up on marriage?
What's the rush?
So let's go to let's meet these two at a middle point or crossroads or whatever you call it. If you want to be married, and that's the end goal, why would you be in that relationship for 4 years and then have no plan? So I'll meet them both in the middle there. If you don't want to rush into it, fine. But I personally, now the way I'm starting to look at, dating and relationships, I personally see no point in being in a relationship for years and years and years if you want to be married. If you never care to be married, then obviously it doesn't fucking matter what you do. But if you say you want it, carrying on for a half a decade is like, what is the point of this if you want to be married?
Common sense.
Are you married?
And you want to do it with me?
I'm just saying, are you married?
Okay, see, here's what I'm about to...
So, right here, when she just throws the question back, it doesn't really make any sense because you're not relating the context or equalizing the context of why the question was asked. Again, if he's giving advice and you trust his advice enough to call up and get it, you then asking that same question back means what? Because if you don't think he's worthy of it because he's not married, or let's try to see where she came from if she has a point. Obviously, she's trying to discredit him generally by saying you're not married, so how can you tell other people to be married? That's what I'm assuming. I could be wrong. I don't know the chick, the actual what she actually meant. So we're just going to go off my assumption. That's like asking someone who has their license suspended because they are a drunk driver, and they, they'll hang out at a bar, or they'll tell people on the internet, don't drink and drive. Uh, Excuse me, do you have a license? Then you're suspended for drinking and driving? So it's stupid. Now, I do understand wondering people's, qualifications. For example, I recently just started watching that show called Super Nanny. And I remember growing up, people would criticize her and go, she don't have kids. How the fuck she gonna tell other people? But you see, she's effective. I'm not sure if Kevin's that effective. I don't think so, but it's obvious she's effective. So her having children is irrelevant because her method is effective. So asking that question back to her, it's fucking stupid, especially when you called her. Let's proceed.
Here's what we're about to do, right?
No, because you wanna tell women.
See, you get these bonnet fools in these 4-year dead-end relationships who get mad because ain't nobody gonna marry them.
And that class was a textbook example of what I call plantation politics.
No, he said is what he called. So is this a real term, or is this some shit he made up? Because if it's some shit you made up, I kind of want to call bullshit on it. But anyway, when he described what plantation politics is, which is try to rule over women without question, they can't question you. When people go this route with men, and it really irks the fuck out of me, what percentage of men really operate like this today? I don't know if this story that he brought up about some chick named Bill, whatever, I don't know how accurate that is. So I'm really just not going to waste the time to speak on it. But today, how many men really try to rule their house and the woman can't even ask a fucking question? Seriously. Even if you want to say it's not that literal, it's more so you want to have the final say, or I guess this is a submission argument. I kind of, at this point, think that's what it is now. How can you say just by default that it's wrong because white supremacists did it? Here's the problem. I'm just going to generalize this all over all the arguments that use white supremacists. Do they not rule, assuming they're real, assuming that the idea of a white supremacist is real, don't they rule America? I think that would be at least a little bit of credibility of maybe they're right. Maybe their format is like the right one because they rule America. They can literally just take your content off of the fucking internet. So labeling something wrong because it's white supremacists, nigga, they run America. The country. Them Jordans on your shelf, all goes back, the profit goes to them. Them glasses, profit goes to them. You doing this shit on this website that makes this website money, profit goes to them. So I don't know. Maybe white supremacy, their format of doing shit is right. Now, do I really believe this? Again, I don't even know if these people exist. So by default, no. But stop labeling something white supremacist, oh, that's the white supremacist shit, as if by default it's wrong. Prove it wrong by proving it to be wrong. Prove that it's destructive or something. Don't just label it white supremacy and then go, oh, well, it's wrong, isn't it? Just by default, it's wrong, right? Right? No, dumbass. That doesn't make it wrong by default. Damn.
What Bell Hooks called plantation patriarchy. She says this testimony shows that enslaved black males were socialized by white folks to believe they should endeavor to become patriarchs by seeking to attain the freedom to provide and protect for black women to be benevolent patriarchs. She goes on to say, benevolent patriarchs
Okay, so whoa. Socialized by white folks to believe that they should endeavor to become patriarchs by seeking to attain the freedom to provide and protect for black women. Wait, you're arguing against that? I thought women wanted... Yo, what the fuck? You're arguing this for people who say that's what they want. Wait, are you so far... Yo, is it any more possible to have your head up your ass? His head's up there and like the dreads aren't even hanging out. It's they're up there too. It's basically like that's why you see it on the shoulders. It went that far up and it's just back on the shoulders. That was a bad joke, but you get my point. The people he's arguing for say that they want what he's calling bad. What? Benevolent patriarchs exercise their power without using force? Yo, am I misinterpreting anything? Like what am I getting wrong here? Can you all explain, real talk, explain to me what I'm getting wrong, because that doesn't sound by default wrong. I don't know.
Exercise their power without using force, and it's this notion of patriarchy that educated black men coming from slavery into freedom sought to mimic. However, when slavery ended, these black men often used violence to dominate black women, which was a repetition of strategies to control white slave masters used.
So when slavery ended, black men then started to beat black women into submission, I'm assuming. A large majority of black men took as their standard to dominate models set by white masters. When slavery ended, black men often used violence to dominate black women. That's a claim you're going to have to provide some type of evidence for. Because that's a hell of a claim. That's a hell of a claim.
Some newly freed men would take their wives into the barn and beat them as their white owners had done. Clearly, by the time...
Now that I'm thinking about this, there's so much shit that posts... people who say we're still fucked up from slavery 200 years later. And we're going to go and relate to a point of slavery a day after. Why the fuck would you go? My last video, because I believe my other video got taken down. But I believe my last video, the chick did the same shit. Oh, men use violence to something. That's why now we don't settle for mediocre. But every time we get to talking about men and anything men might have done bad, we literally go back hundreds or thousands of fucking years, being 8,000 BC. What? But the shit y'all do wrong today is payment for some shit we had nothing to do with. The system that fucks men over. Remember 8,000 BC? How long y'all gonna live off that shit? Damn.
Slavery ended, patriarchal masculinity had become accepted ideal for most black men, and ideal would be enforced throughout the 20th century. He can ask questions in any way, shape, form, or fashion, how he pleases, but that one better not ask him the same questions, because you better not.
I'm pretty sure you can ask him a question, but doesn't have to be relevant. Like, let's take his most iconic moment, the average at best chick. Didn't she ask him a bunch of questions to get to the iconic moment? I hate when y'all make me defend some people who I have no connection to whatsoever. This shit is horrible. Look, it has to be relevant. You can't just ignore the fact that she came on to be a smartass and then just, is this the new way to be a Derek Jackson? You just take certain shit and run with it and don't even make it, totally ignore the common sense part of it.
Go there with him. Then he called her a bonnet fool. What type of anti-blackness is that right there? When I talk about my black...
So is a bonnet like black culture or black representation? And again, just because something will be quote unquote black doesn't mean you should just, like, I don't know, deem it as okay or correct. I'm pretty sure every race of people has something that's, related to, that's credited to their culture that can be called wrong. So don't just say, anti-blackness, and then just by default, whatever that is wrong. You can't do that.
Black male counterparts engaging in what I call plantation politics and what Bell Hooks calls plantation patriarchy. I'm talking specifically about how she said they wanted black women to conform to the gender norms set by white society. They wanted to be recognized as men, as patriarchs by other men, including white men. Yet they could not assume this position if black women were not willing to conform to the prevailing sexist gender norms. Many black women who endured white supremacist patriarchal domination during slavery did not want to be dominated by black men after all this shit that happened. So
what do they want then? What do they want? Because they still, from what I can see, like I said, I hear them asking for patriarchy. So what the fuck do they want? They won't settle down and be married unless they can have patriarchy. So what the fuck do they want? Did you ask any of them this shit? Did it occur to you to even think, is this contradictory? Or is it, I got a moment here, another viral hit?
We see is a lot of us have internalized the politics from the plantation, and you think being a high quality man meaning you're above a black woman.
Based on the criteria that apparently is set for being a high value man, that will put you above a lot of other men. So why are you making it above the black woman? That will put you above a lot of people, period. Because we're talking about somebody who can only be in like the top 5 to 10%. So it's not about the black woman. It will be about just being above most people in terms of importance, in terms of productivity, in terms of class. Why are you trying to make it that black man, black woman thing? Because it was a black woman that called in?
To conform to you, and then I ask you no questions either, and I keep it a step.
Again, when you are that high up, let's take a person who owns a buttload of shit. One of those guys, super multi-billionaires and shit. How many people can ask you a question? How many people can question you? How many people can enter your presence and be comfortable enough to go, are you this? Are you that? And not get kicked the fuck out? How many?
Perhaps there are moments where I'm too lost in the sauce of plantation politics, but education is elevation.
Now I'm almost certain you're just pandering at this point. Hey, I'm calling some shit out. And you know what? I got that problem too. But I'm trying to correct it. Nigga, correct it before you make these videos. How about that? Would you really listen to somebody who's getting their finances together, who's still flat the fuck broke or hella in debt, but on YouTube or TikTok giving this financial advice. Here's what I'm currently going through to undo my bankruptcy. All of you should follow. No, let us know when you've made it out of that and you're on the up and up. Or in fact, when you're just up. What the fuck is this?
And I'm moving to unlearn that shit. Mr. Samuels is old enough to be my dad, and sometimes he handles himself in these conversations like a high school boy that's looking to just throw around a masculinity.
Okay, so again, when y'all make me defend people, listen. About a week ago, they held a thread of his picture that he looked a little saucy in the picture, right? And it was that thing that that typical, is he gay? Blah blah blah. So how does those two narratives fit together? Him throwing around his masculinity and trying to have this patriarch, and he's kind of gay. Seriously, like even your most masculine gay dude, I don't think people will credit him with trying to throw around his masculinity. I don't think that would happen, but I could be wrong. Maybe. Not likely, but I guess it could happen. So, what do you think? Put in the comment section. Like the video. And be right, not positive. I'm out. Stop!